Funding in financial management and how to obtain sponsorship is very important. You need to know where sources of funding are, how to manage your own finances to make sure that you don't end up with the minuses being too bigger than the pluses, and you need sponsorship because that can aid your profile and also brings money in. Funding sources can be found locally. Usually there's funding sources available by your local council. The Primary Sport Premium is a funding you can use for schools. There's also funding by your county sports partnership. You need to look for where that is. It differs across the country. And also there's funding agencies, Sport England and others that you can seek. There's also advice on this on our England Squash website. Applying for funding can be sometimes quite difficult. I would advise you, if you know someone who's very good at it, to use them. There's a number of agencies you can access funding. For sport is one, and you can phone them up and say, look, I need funding for a certain project. They'll ask you about the project and then they can take that application on. You'll need to meet some certain criteria. Just make sure that you look through that thoroughly so that you know when you actually do the application, you're confident that you're meeting those criteria, because otherwise it'll just get sent back. Yeah, free is a lovely word, but unfortunately it doesn't work. It's okay when you do it initially, and I'd understand why you do that, but unfortunately people don't seem to appreciate the word free. It doesn't seem to add value, and people will decide whether they want to turn up or not. So do some kind of nominal cost, but don't make it free. I know it's tempting. When you're coaching, there are a number of financial outlays that you need to consider. Would be equipment, would be court fees, would be your own kit. And this comes at a cost, so when you're running your program, you have to make sure that the costs meet the expenses. So if you're running a session that's just based on pay and play, for example, that money is inconsistent. There's much more modern payment methods that you can use. I would recommend some kind of upfront payment. That could be a term, a week, it could be a year, it could even be monthly payments, but whatever it is, just make sure that you cost things properly first. So how much you charge depends on psychologically what you think you're worth. Because if you don't, you'll always think, I should be charging something that I'm now not being paid the right rate for. So when you set your rates, it's a simple method of adding your costs. You'll get court costs, coach costs, and an element for equipment. Divide that by the number of people you've got coming to your session, and that's going to be your sessional rate.